Hello.
Hi, welcome to Lineage Lessons. Super excited to be having brunch with my daughter. And, I cooked up a little something, you know how I do. So just wanted to really have a time to think. I love the way we're going to try and eat and be cute. This is cute. Maybe we ain't got to be cute. Maybe we can just eat. Um, Today we want to talk about it's March, and in addition to it being the month of my mother's birthday, and actually both of your grandmothers were born in March.
Yes, rest in peace anyway.
Yes, absolutely. I have a concert coming up, and I thought we could talk about in one of our previous sessions. Dorielle talked about having to go to rehearsal all the time, and listen, it didn't even dawn on me like I was like, oh, we were just going to rehearsal, right? It didn't dawn on me that
I was tired. It didn't dawn on me that you were tired. I knew I was tired, but my kid's crazy.
But I thought that like because you would have fun maybe, during the rehearsal in the back of the church. I don't know. But it was just funny. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about music and how music has been like, did you say a paid actor? It's been
Music was the paid actor of our family to this day. Like,
absolutely.
oh my God.
Like music is really like that piece. And so I guess I'll start with, so before you ever arrived on the scene, my mother taught me to play piano. And her whole goal in teaching me to play the piano was so I could accompany her. She,
oh, this is good.
She was a vocalist, and she would sing in various places.
That's why you thought it was fun when I was getting tracked to her. So you were like, this is what kids do.
She was like, it'd be really great if I could have an accompanist because she would have to pay an accompanist, right? But of course, I could do it.
I'm sorry. I did not know this was the story. Okay, I'm sorry. You damn near should have told me this before we started recording. This is going to be a good one.
So she was like, I'm going to teach you to play piano. And then, I would play piano and I took to it really easily, right? And so she'd had all this sheet music of songs that she would sing. So I would practice playing the songs that mom would sing, which were songs that I probably never would have played at, 7 or 8. But she was like, yes. And then when I got to ask mom if I was 9 or 10, but we got an opportunity to play for
I'm sorry. I'm literally just like, I think I was like 4 when I went to play at the White House. Like, what are we talking about? Oh, you said 9. Okay.
I might have. I feel like I was a little older. We got this opportunity to play for a local church, and my mom came to me and was like, "Do you think we should go play for this church? It brings a little."
We're asking you at 9. This is
because she wanted me to have my voice. She didn't want to be like, "Go do it." She was like, "Well, what do you think?" And so the church was, we went to Evergreen and the church was around the corner from Evergreen. So we could walk from Evergreen over to this church. And mom was like, let's see what happens. Cause it would bring a little extra moisture into, and I could make a little bit of money. And mom was like, I will play piano and you will play organ. Now, mind you, I've never played organ ever, but I was like, okay. So we would leave Evergreen after Sunday school because mom was not going to stop teaching Sunday school. And then we would walk over to this church. It took about 10 minutes. And then we would start playing. And the church was called Harmony. And it's before the Harmony that you know now in Oakland. It was because that was taken over. The minister of Harmony when we played back in the day, then died and left the church to Reverend Cobb, who is now the pastor, I think, I think his son is the pastor. But anyway, so we played for Harmony. So my first time playing for a church was when I was super, super young, and mom would choose the songs and I would sort of work with their little choir. It was very small. They're no more than 10 people, right? But I was able to get a little bit of money, and that was...
I'm sorry. Were you choir directing at 9? You said you casually said you were working with 9 or 10 people, and to make a little like you casually skips over that. Okay, I just want to clarify. You were the choir director of a church at 9 years old. Okay.
Mom and I worked together.
Okay, love that.
And I think I just thought of it as an adventure and
Right.
a way to get a little bit of money so that when I went to, I think
Where
I was
are you going?
in,
The candy store.
I was about to say when I would go to the store on the way to school.
Yeah.
I was about to say that because you know how everybody would stop at the store on the way to school or the way home from school when you're walking, and everybody would have money. And so now I would have a little bit of money and I could go in and I think back then gummy bears was my thing. And so I could get my gummy bears and, I had a little something in my pocket. So I think I thought of it as an adventure. I think we only did that for like a year and a half. He got really sick. Like I said, the pastor died. But the thing is that I started playing because Mom taught me. And then shortly thereafter, I auditioned for the Young Musicians program that Mom had heard about. Mm-hmm. And I got in, and Mom wanted me to audition as a pianist. But I wanted to audition as a vocalist. And I remember Mom being like, no, I sing. And you play the piano.
Come on, Beyonce.
And I was
your mom being Beyonce. It's crazy. But okay.
And I was like, I do play the piano, but I want to sing. And she was like, sing that, because where did that come from, right? So I auditioned. I got in as both a pianist and a vocalist. So I kind of double majored. And that was interesting because that meant I got free lessons, both vocal lessons and piano lessons. Most people choose one instrument. But back then they were giving me 2. So I had to be in piano ensemble and vocal ensemble. And that was classical. And that's all I did for like 5 years. I got in my summer going to the 8th grade.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. And I stayed in until the summer going to college. Yeah. So I was in YP for a minute. And so that was all classical music. They weren't doing anything but classical, but I got a great love of like classical choral music. They would do jazz too, right?
That don't sound black. Was it? There was no.
The program was designed for children of color.
Okay, to teach them classical music.
Well, but also jazz. There was a whole jazz component too, but I wasn't in it, right? But I mean, the point was it was to give private lessons and ensemble lessons to particularly folks of color, children of color who could not have afforded it. And dope people came out of that program. I mean, so many people. And shout out to Janice Maxie Reed, who was my vocal instructor, and David Tigner, rest in power, and just Bill Bell. Like, they were just like the Bay Area's, like, they weren't like somebody just come teach. These were the Bay Area's like great musicians.
Awesome.
And vocalists. And I was intimidated because I didn't think I was great. But it was a great time. So that's sort of that background love of music. I didn't start playing again for a church until late high school. And so, and I didn't play gospel. So this is very weird for you to think, right. I was a classically trained musician and I told everyone about it. I was like, I'm classically trained. And so.
Does that make you like better? Like, is that saucy?
Or I mean, the thing is that I could read music and most church musicians didn't or don't. They play by ear.
True. I mean,
right. And so like Bishop John Allen McBride, rest in power, would call me and my play brother Tori and be like, I need to do this piece of structured music, so I need you to come play it because nobody else can play it, And so I would play like the Hallelujah Chorus or Gloria in Excelsis because that was classical and I could play that.
That's
and
why you were teaching that to Black people at church. Okay.
Well,
I was like, what the?
Because these were the songs. Now, don't let me do a whole thing on history, but these were this was the music that traditionally we were not allowed to sing. You understand that, right? It was made for.
No, it's just
right.
Yes.
So then when we weren't taught to sing it.
I mean, yeah,
right. Why? So, because it's great music.
It's just deep. Because I'm like.
Tell me.
Black. Like, that's why we didn't want to do it. Like, so it's like interesting because it's like, I feel like there's a timeline and there's like a cycle, right? I feel like your generation was like, we want access to white people stuff. Like, of course, like, this is the best music. They're not letting us get this music, so we need to get this music. And then we're going to be better than the other Black people that don't get this music, which makes sense in theory. It's like, okay. But then my generation, I feel like we're like, why are we wanting to get trained in things that aren't for us? So it's like I see what you're saying. I'm like, oh, that's fire. But then I'm like, why would I want, per se, to be classically trained in music if that's not like my definition of excellency? But when I'm listening to this story, I'm like, this is a different time period. You're also very different, though, because you're like, yeah. But when I grew up, I used to think we were white. So this kind of makes sense. Because who else was like, like, I'm like, hey, my mom loves classical music. Or like, it wasn't, especially for a quote unquote urban environment, whatever. Like when I went to middle school, they were like, girl, why do you talk like that? Right. But I'm like, this is still in that same genre of like excellency. And I feel like it follows us in different ways. And so in music, I could see that. This family is also very intense with music. Like everyone, I think, doesn't Ben read music?
He reads drum music. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple of things. When you teach music, right? You're teaching in school or when you go to school, they're not just doing traditional Black music. They are if you have a really well-rounded program. What you want to do is what I did with the Castaliers, right? Mm-hmm. Which was I taught them everything. So we did gospel, we did jazz, we did popular, we were doing Janet Jackson, right? But then we also did spirituals and classical music. And it set them apart because I could take this group of little Black children from East Oakland and we could go compete anywhere.
That is good.
Including with the whites. And so there is something about, and yes, we did it better.
Oh, obviously.
Right? We would do the classical music. I can call 5 Castaliers right now and be like, give me some Adoramus Te. That was one of the things that we did in Latin. And they'd be like, ready. And they would all sing it because it was dope. It was dope music. It was music that no one else was doing. And you did have to know how to do it and do it well, right? So I didn't think of it as white music back then, to your point. But then also, to your point, when I got in college, I had a vocal music instructor. And I was like, I'm tired of singing this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I was undergrad. I was like, why am I still singing? Right. It was stuff I didn't know. And shout out to Cheryl Keller. She was like, well, what you want to sing? And I was like.
And then you did gospel or is that?
No, I was like, I want to sing standards. I was, so I went to, jazz standards. I wanted to learn how to sing Ella Fitzgerald and how to sing stuff like that, right? Yes. And so even though my voice didn't lend itself to it, she was like, well, this is what voice lessons is for. She allowed me to expand. Wow. Others hadn't, other voice teachers hadn't, and they're strict, like, we're going to do straight up what I would call dead white people. So to your point, it took a little while I got there, but I was so tired of having done classical music. My God. What I also learned, though, at YMP was this jazz background, which, fast forward to Ben, right? And like, I didn't play jazz well, but there's a whole different set of tools that you have to learn to do jazz. And all of this was the background, and gospel is in all of this. So I'm just saying, like,
that's deep.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'm in high school, and a friend of the family calls me and says, I need a musician. And it's a little small church in East Oakland. And I was like, okay. And so I went over there and was like, I only read music. They were like, no problem. We can get you the music for these songs. So I felt,
this is deep.
I felt really not good, right? Because you know how Black church is. At any point, somebody's going to be like, hit this right here and pick me up. And I couldn't do it.
Let's put a... Yeah. Does Ben know this story? I don't think Ben probably does. Ben, obviously, for those who don't know, our younger brother who went to a jazz school
He went to a
What did he go
he
to?
went
A
to the
conservatory?
a conservatory.
What does
There
that
was
mean?
it's a little bit of jazz.
Sorry.
So if you have college, and then music is like it's a conservatory, which means that is like a higher level, much more.
Prestigious.
Yes,
Yes.
like a Harvard or
Of
whatever.
musicness.
Yes.
So he's saucy.
Right. Yeah,
That's
he
what I
got in on a
knew.
full ride.
Clearly, I'm ignorant. Please forgive me,
Four
y'all.
years of a full ride.
and beautiful.
Yep.
But I recall, for those of you that don't know, which you probably shouldn't go listen to my music. If you're here for my mom's audience,
You should definitely go listen
if
to
you're
her
here
music.
For me, you should probably go listen to that.
No, I share your music with
Yeah.
all my friends, and they're like, "Huh,
Yeah, it's different.
it's a little spicy."
It's not gospel nor classical nor jazz. But quickly to summarize, I actually started off with poetry. I'm also a dancer, and then I was like, I think I'm gonna rap, and so that's started rapping. It was awesome. Like it was, I don't know, it's beautiful. Sometimes I sing, but singing gives me anxiety because obviously training and my grandmother, everyone sings in my family. Mark, my brother, he's in collab choir. He sings with Russell. Everyone's singing. So then I got overwhelmed, but then God started giving me songs, so then I'd be singing. It's a thing. I make music with Ben, and there's two different situations that happened. One, Ben came to me and I was like, "Oh yeah, like I wrote the song," like, and he was like, "Did you compose it?" When I tell you, me and him argued down. I was like, "Ben, you made the beat, but the beat is nothing without me." And he was like, "But I can't say you're not writing music. You don't read music." I was like, "Okay, a little jazz
Ben
nigga."
said that?
Yes. He was on my yes.
We got to have him on.
Yes, it was. So when you were telling me the story, I was like, "Oh, this makes sense." Because my brain is like, what? I'm so like intuitive, like freestyle, feel it, somatics, get into your body, let's yodel, tribal, whatever, right?
We don't do that.
Right. No one in this family feels it. So that's where me and Ben, feel
it.
I'm about to explain.
Okay.
So that was one conversation, the composing versus writing. And I didn't have time for that because I was like, "Sir, you're not going to tell me about nothing until you start rapping. Like, get the pen going, right?" So then I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. Another dialogue we had was like, Ben was getting into a rut with making beats. He was getting stuck. He was like, "Oh, I feel like I'm the same. Like, I don't know." And I was like, "That's because you're trying to make music like you go to a jazz school." I was like, that's not how you feel and make intuitive beats. Like, these things are not crossing over. When someone's handing you something and you have to read it and you have to perform, like, that's completely different than when you're in your room and you're trying to create something that feels good for you or that feels like ancestral veneration or like walking in your, there's a whole different world. And I just, like, this is me, like, just finding it, like music being a calling or like just joy or whatever it is. And then there's like, this is my tool for success, and like I'm reading music and I don't know. It's really intense, honestly. It's a little intimidating for people that just want to that are falling into it. Like, I don't be asking God to give me songs. Like, that wasn't really my thing. It just came to me. And so I think that when I was hearing you say that, you were like, yeah, that freestyling, because I've asked Ben to freestyle when we're making beats. I'm like, "Oh, just do a xylophone solo or just do it." And he's like, "No." Like, he'll just look at me like, "No." And I didn't understand that. I thought he was weird. I was like, "What do you mean, no? Like, if you can do it for the school, why can't you?" But they don't translate.
Well, I think it's a lot of things. Like, so first of all, it can be a both and. It can be.
Hopefully.
And I feel like that's where I am now. But Ben has been, since the third grade, he's been in jazz ensembles. Jazz, although, there's a component of jazz that's very free.
Mm-hmm.
You ad lib. And so when he does his solos, he ad libs and things like that. But the rest of jazz is very structured, especially when you're playing it with a 5-piece ensemble or even in a large jazz band. You just can't go off feeling it, like, because everything has to work together. And all of the music has to harmonize, and there's a chordal situation, and there's a jazz structure, and it's 4 bars until you take a solo, you take a 3 bar. So like, everything is very choreographed, but also designed to fit together. And it works for jazz, right? I mean, jazz it's a whole different art form.
Oh man.
And since that boy, I don't know what age third grade is that 8 or whatever, since that age. So, like, for the last 10 to 11 to 12, 13 years of Ben's life, he's been doing this type of music. Now, he got tired of that.
Yeah.
And was like, I also want to do producing, but also when he plays now, he's announced to me he's no longer a jazz drummer. What did he tell me? That he named himself this other drummer, and he was like, because he feels like jazz was too constrictive, and so he wants it to be all of that. And we'll have him talk about it.
Maybe I need to get into.
Yeah, but the thing is that as a musician, and actually your dad said this, like, so we try and go to as many shows as Dorielle will invite us to that are appropriate for us to be there.
Right.
And then same thing with Mark's shows, or, you know, we're gonna support, like, right. That's what we're gonna do. But I do feel, I'm gonna say the unpopular piece here. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. I do feel like sometimes there is this overall, like, so you just did it, so it's okay. And definitely as a musician, that was never the message that we received, right?
Never.
So for me, I'm like, oh, was that what they're doing? Okay, right? But I was like,
you asked that about anything music related. You're like,
so is that it? That's what's happening. And I feel like there has to be some sort of like, it doesn't have to be excellence. But there should be a standard. And what I've seen sometimes is I'll go to a show and someone will get up and they'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody has thunderous applause, which we want to.
You're like,
no, I'm like, okay. That was nice. They were totally flat and not in the same key, but all right. Right. And I'm just wondering where the middle of that is, right? So
I don't know.
Right. So
if we're being honest, I don't know. I think in regards to Lineage Lessons, our family is a musically trained family, if you will. And even your face of that is how I know that we are, because everyone in this family does music.
They do, but are they trained?
At least by you, if no other. Everyone plays for you, and you train everyone. That's why you have your own choir.
Well, let's look at Matthew. Matthew came home in his senior year of high school and said, I'm going to play bass.
And he does it sweatily. And
he is amazing at playing bass, right? I didn't train him. He just woke up and was like, now I'm a bass player.
That's not how it works. Your thoughts are still in your children's
okay
brain. It's a conditioning. It's not necessarily that you were like, hey, Matthew, the scale is this and blah, blah, blah. Right. But just as you said that, you were like, there has to be a standard. Matthew said that exact same thing to me. I'm not
kidding.
He
did, really?
I'm dead ass.
About his playing?
Not only that, but just music in general. I was like, yeah, like music is an art form. Like sometimes people just feel good. And he was like, yeah, but music is not just about feeling. He was like, there is a standard of excellency. And he was like, some people should not make music. I was like, okay, powerful. And I was like, I'm not showing my music to y'all. So for the first 2 years of my life, I just didn't tell them. Like, I was like, I know I'm not reaching that standard. I'm not classically trained. Not everything sounds perfect. I'm just feeling, and it just feels really good. And I practice. like I'm not just out here just YOLOing, freestyling it, whatever, you know. But I think there is a standard that I don't perceive in the same way.
Well, while you don't perceive it in the same way, your latest EP, let me an unapologetic shout out. There's some bangers that I play over and over and over. First of all, your lyrics are, you know how to write.
Like mother, like daughter.
You know how to write. And I appreciate a lot of the things that are like Bay Area, you know, like we're at the lake, you know, and what have you. I mean, it's a little spicy.
Yeah.
But I don't mind spicy at my age. Plus, you're grown. Like, if you were doing this at 10, I would be like, ooh, wowzers.
Right, like directing the choir. I didn't have that on me. That is a skill, Bob. I was like, this is, I mean, you just have to, like, when we zoom out, right? Because we're zooming out. And so you're giving us access to a person I just didn't know. I cannot imagine you at 10
Yeah.
Like my head is like, because by the time I got here, you were already running 30 choirs. So like in my head, you came out the womb like that because I came out the womb seeing you like that. So I'm like, okay, but then when I hear that you really came out the womb like that, now I'm like, this makes, and I think that standard of excellency, it walks with your children all the time. I think it's something that we have never learned to transmute into words. Acceptance. Not just
what about
words.
when you dance?
On to the next category. So, for example, I don't think I'm good with anything that requires too much structure and competition. That's just me. I can't, because it feels punishing, because it's like, God gave me these gifts. I ain't mean to want to dance. Like, I don't, so now because I am blessed with needing to move my body as a healing form, as like a aspect of release, as my praise, if you will. Now I have to be held to a standard. That's not fair. I did not ask for this. I just have to do it. Even something like Lineage Lessons. I'm like, I don't know if I'm good at making content. I don't know if I'm funny. I don't think about it that way. Funny. God was like, you know what you're going to do? You're going to talk on camera with your mom. And it's going to be good. I don't understand it fully. It's just, that's how my spirituality is working for me. And I think that happens to some people where they naturally need creativity or they love it. And I think when you put a standard on it, it makes you have to categorize yourself as someone that's doing it for a hobby or that's doing it for fun. For example, for a long time, people asked me, did I dance? I told them no. I said, I'm a choreographer. Because I was just like, I don't have the best releve, the best kick. I don't know all the jazz terms. I never took ballet. Like, that wasn't my thing. I praise danced. And then I learned West African dance in high school. And I was like, I love to dance. That's just it. And so I was dancing, and I danced. But I think that, again, there's different standards. There's dancers that go to OSA and they're like, girl, you don't dance. Yeah. There's people who tell me to this day, they're like, oh my God, you can really dance. I'm like, so that like pendulum is why I just have to cut it and just do it for me. And in that regard, not only in dance, but to circle back to what I was saying, your standard of excellency didn't transfer to us accepting our gifts. And I feel like I'm learning that in my own personal journey. I don't know how that's working with all of our siblings, but for me, originally, the excellency made me want to be silent. I didn't want to say that I sang. I didn't want to make music. I didn't want to do that because I knew I wasn't going to be the best songstress. Or like you said, you're like, oh, I love to sing. And your mom was like, sing? I also feared that you would have that same reaction. And you did offer. You were like, yeah, let's do voice lessons. And I was like, I'm still scared. Like, I don't feel comfortable like holding myself to that standard. I feel like I have to have like a real safe space to make music. And that just comes from like the desire to be excellent. But also I'm like, I have so many parts of my life that I'm like, I don't know if I'm striving for excellency per se in music. I just want to be my best self. And I think that if I have 70 hours in a week and I'm also trying to get another degree, and me and you were trying to facilitate, I'm like, I don't know. I still haven't figured out that balance. But hey, y'all, hopefully y'all can hear me.
Right.
But I still haven't figured out that balance per se. And I think that it would be beautiful to, for example, is that the 28th of March?
Oh, yeah. So I'm doing, well, then you said all that. Then okay.
Because it's a segue. And I think that we can also continue this conversation in the next video or next week, if you will. But essentially, March 28th.
Yeah. So in one of our previous sessions, Dorielle talked about going to rehearsal. And I just wanted to double down that there were two different choirs, but that probably didn't make a difference. But Friday night was when I had rehearsal for my church choir, and on Saturdays was when I had rehearsal for eBay. So I began the East Bay Anointed Voices. It'll be 30 years in 2027, and I wanted a small ensemble that could sing original material that I had started to write.
Because of course.
And so I started to write songs. So like Mother, Like Daughter.
Always.
I didn't call up God and be like, God, give me a song. like it just happened that I wrote my first song when I was pregnant with Mark and never did anything with it. And it was called Faith. And then I taught it to the Castaliers. And then occasionally I would bring a couple of songs that I taught to the Castaliers. But I started really writing a lot of music. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this music? And then we had an opportunity to sing at a function that my church put on. And then the next day, it was at Jeffrey's. They were having the Jeffrey's brunch back in the day. And then Jeffrey was like, can y'all come sing the next day? And I was like, oh, wow, this is a calling to start this group. And so I did eBay. I'm still doing eBay. Love eBay. Shout out to Donald Taylor, who is also my co-director. Okay. But 2 years ago, this is 2026. So yeah, 2023, actually, October 2023, I was just laying in bed, sat straight up and was like, I think I'm going to start another choir. And so God was like, I think it's time for you to do a choir. A lot of churches don't have choirs anymore. A lot of churches have praise teams, but they don't have choirs. And what I miss is choir music. I grew up at Evergreen Baptist Church with like, we would just say robes for days, just like, you know, choir 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 people just singing. And I miss that sound. Plus, I feel like the 90s was when choral music was just so good.
I love when you look at me like I was there.
Because I was like, oh, no, this isn't Mark. Mark was the 90s. Baby.
Every reference that you made yesterday at rehearsal went completely over my head. I was like, why am I here? You're like, yeah, because we love that. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
The 90s, okay, parenthetically, I also think the 90s was the best for pop music as well as for gospel music. Just the 90s was it. And I could go down the whole list, but I won't. But I called out some composers, I think maybe at rehearsal. I'm not sure what I did at rehearsal yesterday. But my point is, I love good choral music. And I feel like the 90s, choir music, not choral music. I love good choir music. Choral music is the classical music, right? So anyway, I started the Bay Area Mass Choir, and we had our first concert in 2024. And so this year, March 28th, we'll be having our third year, and we're honoring my favorite gospel composer, Richard Smallwood. So this is where it comes full circle. Richard Smallwood passed in December. And in the moment I heard he passed, I was like, this is an opportunity for me to honor this person. As I went back over all his music, here's the thing. Richard Smallwood is a classically trained musician who went to school at Howard and who, has always known how to do like all of this work. Like he reads music, he does all this stuff. But Richard Smallwood's music, he would print and it would be available in sheet music. I was a person who didn't play by ear very well. And so I would buy everything Richard Smallwood wrote because then I could play it. And so I started playing and teaching Richard Smallwood's music because A, it was phenomenal, but B, I could play it. If you put any sheet music in front of me, I can play anything, right?
That's sight reading, right?
Yes. I can, all you gotta do is throw it in front of me.
That's trippy. My eyes would hurt. You know what's crazy? I just had a flashback to when you used to have me flip your music. You used to do piano solos.
I did a piano solo for one of our Christmas cantatas.
You were like, can you flip the page? I was like,
because I was like, I'm not gonna be able to play without this sheet music. Okay, right, yeah.
This is a very, very, very specific life that we have, and I'm glad we're doing this documentation because this is definitely giving Lifetime movie. 3 generations, blind grandmother, also all singing. That. It's a lot going on.
Who was, let's be clear, who gave me all her sheet music so I could learn to play the songs in case she had to go sing somewhere. Like she had a couple of favorite songs. So I would read the sheet.
I'm sorry.
I would read the sheet music so I could play for her. That makes sense.
There's this meme where this grandpa is like working and the grandson is tired. He's like, I'm tired, grandpa. And he was like, that's too damn bad. And that's the first thing I thought. I was like, what if you didn't want to? Like, I'm not saying she would force you, but Black Mom, what was this, 1970?
Yeah, really, I like the way that you're trying to find that decade. It
Whatever
was clearly in the
the-
70s, right?
I know
But if
she was
Mama
forcing
had to
you.
go. Say Mom had to go sing somewhere.
You had to go.
Because I'm not going to stay home by myself, so I'm already going to be there. So she'd be like, "Okay, I'm about to sing." I forgot one of her things.
We need a big deal.
Her favorite was "Climb Every Mountain." So "Climb Every Mountain" is
I
a
think I've heard that
standard
before.
from The Sound of Music, and so Mom would love singing that. And Mom
I've
had a
heard
really
that
high.
Yes.
She loves to believe she's a lyric soprano, and so she would.
She will be in those rafters, as you would call
It's
them.
true, but yeah, so she loves to say she's a lyric. At any rate, so lyric meaning the highest
No,
of
I
sopranos.
understand.
Okay, so Mom would be like, "Oh, make sure you play it in C because it has a high G, right? Or the Lord's Prayer." Right? Everybody is singing the Lord's
Wow.
Prayer in B flat. My mother's like, "I'm singing in D flat. Why, Dorothy?" But that's what she wanted to do. So she would have the sheet music and I could play it.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward. I started playing for churches and they would buy the music or have a hymn book and I would play the hymns.
Right.
And I had to learn how to judge up a hymn. But as long as the music was in front of me, I could do some, I could play around with some things, but I had to have that music in front of me. So when Richard Smallwood would put his music out, it's like, thank God, right? And so I could go buy it and I could play everything in that book. And I did. And I taught it to all of my choirs.
So this event, your Bay Area Mass Choir on February 28th.
March 28th.
I keep saying February. It's giving Black History Month celebration.
I love it.
All of these hymnals and sorts. So March 28th. At what time?
5 p.m. at Evergreen Missionary Baptist Church.
Good. I need to remember that too. 5 p.m. at Evergreen Missionary Baptist Church.
So what's really great is BMC is going to honor
Richard
We're going
Smallwood.
to do some other works, but we're doing a medley that I put together of about 7 or 8 of his songs, and then we're doing one of his seminal works, the Anthem of Praise, and it requires.
That's what we're dancing to.
That's what you're dancing to.
Okay,
and
we need to finish this on the next episode of Lineage Lessons.
Well, I'm just
because
gonna.
we need to get into this tea.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to say this is the first year where I will have my whole family.
And yeah, that's why we need to talk about it on the next episode.
Okay.
Because now it's a whole thing.
Okay, so for those of you who are local, roll through, no cost. Evergreen Missionary Baptist Church, 5 p.m. on Saturday, March 28th. We'll be in there. We're going to do a little Kirk Franklin. We're going to do a couple of other things, but then we're really going to focus on Richard Smallwood, and I'm really excited about it. So hope to see you there.
Even if you're not into gospel.
Even if you're not into gospel, it's going to be some
through.
good music is what I'm trying to say.
There we go.
Folks
all
are singing.
Inclusive.
It's all inclusive. It's a multiracial choir.
Good vibes.
We just roll through.
On the next episode of Lineage Lessons.
On the next episode.
Peace.
Have a good day.